On this episode of RVA Real Estate Talk, we are going to talk about the lack of inventory in today's market and what that means for you. What do you need to know? Let's go.
You're listening to RVA Real Estate Talk with Jared Davis and Galen Parker, your source for an honest, insightful look into Central Virginia's real estate market. Combined, Jared and Galen have over 20 years sales experience, as well as hundreds of testimonials from clients past and present who rely on them for advice and assistance when buying and selling homes in today's incredibly hot and competitive real estate market. And now, your hosts, Jared Davis and Galen Parker.
That's right, I am Jared Davis.
And I am still Galen Parker. Can we talk about that intro for a second? I don't like how that goes. This is like your host, Jared Davis and Galen Parker.
Does it go lower?
It does go lower.
I just look at you every time when they say 20 years experience, you do 40. You do this 4 times.
I'm always like,
You're like,
I was like, you carry the one.
I was like, no,
20.
I think you
I think the reason why he trails out is, and I'm going to post the pictures later. If you guys see the seats we're sitting in, Jared's sitting in a nice plush. I'm sitting on a bar stool.
It does one of these?
This is basically a crate that you would get in a third world country bus.
If you're watching and not listening.
Yeah, if you're watching.
Also, your table's been demoted,
I
too.
mean, look at this.
I can pivot. He got like, it looks like he got like
I'm about to make soup in Taiwan right now. Like, why is like this table with a leg? There's a bottle cap holding it to level it out over
you
here.
got like a this end up, like used furniture store table over here.
I mean, Mike's like, no, it's nothing personal. And this is clearly personal.
What did you do with the other table?
It's in the other room. I use it for studio work.
He got this from
Because it raises up.
Barnyard.
The table raises up and I need something
This
high.
is studio work.
Obviously, we're not important.
Well, I mean, not we.
I mean, I'm not important.
There you
It's
go.
all about the end product. It's all
All
about
right.
the end product.
Someone scratched a swastika on the table over
So
there.
what's
Remember in school, people used to, like, remember in school, people used to like scratch stuff in the desk. That's so looks. I'm like,
Mine was a lot of like Kiss albums or
that was so like the
1800s.
All right, so what's up? What's new?
You know what? A lot of things have happened since the last podcast.
We got a new prez.
prez.
We got a lady vice prez.
Lady vice
A Veep.
prez.
Veep is real.
Lady Veep. The first lady is a doctor.
Okay,
That's pretty cool. I think
I don't know
that's-
that much about it. I'm kind of
President Biden's wife is like some brilliant doctor
She
lady
actually
or
still
something.
teaches at the university, too.
Wow.
Huh. So currently, if you were a student, you could be like
The vice
President's
or the
wife.
president's wife is
first
my
lady.
The first lady's my
Dr.
teacher.
First Lady.
So that's gonna be weird because now the Secret Service
First
has to
lady
like
gave me an F.
stand there the whole time.
They gotta sit through class. They get degrees by listening to this. And
They're like, are we getting credits for this?
how much work do they do in the class? They're like keeping people awake as well. They're like, hey, no texting.
Right. Don't
no
you talk
pass-
back?
Hey,
You're gonna talk back
what?
to the teacher?
Would you write it? You passing notes?
That's right.
That'd be crazy. Yeah, a lot of things. There was an insurrection.
Capitol riot.
Capitol riots got crazy with
so
it.
Galen, what's your new marketing plan?
So here's the thing. I'm on the Jenna Ryan plan, and here's what I'm gonna do. Anytime there's going to be a possible riot in the Capitol,
Yep.
like her, chart in the private plane. Step
Yeah.
one,
Yep.
private jet flying to DC.
Spare no expense.
Spare no. I mean, hey, listen, I'm gonna get pardoned.
Get
clearly.
ready. What are you gonna do on Twitter?
I'm gonna just boast about it,
Tweet,
nonstop
tweet,
about
tweet,
it. I want to
tweet,
create a very
tweet.
extensive, like, digital footprint for
Insta
myself,
stories.
so that no one can be like, "Were you there?" And like, "Oh, you were clearly there," because they know how I get down with that social media.
Forward to the FBI.
Yeah, forward straight to the
You don't
FBI.
know which one of them are gonna buy a house.
They're already checking it anyways.
Exactly. Hey,
then,
who's your sphere, guys?
Yeah, this seems like a sound plan. This is what she thought was going to happen. So
Yes.
I'm really awaiting. I read the last comments.
Right, live tweet. Who's your realtor?
Yeah,
Before you storm the
Selfie.
Capitol.
It was like, this will have no ramifications later. So it goes in there. I read like a comment for her recently, and she says, "I feel that I deserve a presidential pardon."
And then Trump's like,
He's like, "Hey, see you in Florida." President's like, "I'm only like pardoning people with like $70 million." So.
well, Trump, if Trump pardons anybody, then he knows he has to acknowledge that he did wrong by the whole thing.
Yeah, so he's no.
Trump's like,
I don't know.
Trump's people have to be like, you can't pardon yourself right now, right? Because Trump's already like, well, I can self pardon, right? And they're like, probably not a good look. You
Right
should
now.
probably do that.
he right now to me is pulling the best new phone who dis like that's ever been. People are calling me, he's like, new phone who dis. He's like,
just gonna like change wigs and
Dude,
get a
that's
new
genius.
Twitter account.
So yeah, that's my new marketing plan for 2021.
That's it. It's good.
Catch me on the cell block.
Well, now
if you
they're
need me.
doing all the NRA, like what the gun people are down at the Capitol now, right? In Richmond. Yeah.
Right. That was Thursday. We couldn't go to our office.
The caravan.
They told us they were like, please do not come to our office.
I saw the caravan and I was
I
like,
did too.
what is going on?
I was coming from the East End, and there was like at least 200 cars coming
sure.
from Hampton, and they said that they were coming from like 4 different locations.
For sure.
So I was like, no thanks.
My thing is this: whatever side you're on, it does not make any difference to me because I'm not on any side.
We just want to sell you a house.
I just want to sell you a house.
Yeah.
But I always think of like logistics of how things work because there was like I have a buddy who's a part of that. And I was reading the news, and the guy was like, we don't want anyone to come take our guns, right? Makes sense. You don't want anyone to take your anything. I don't want anyone to take my phone. You don't want anyone to take your guns. Who's doing that? Whose job is that? Like, are you like the first day employee? They're like, hey,
You're gonna go
we need
take
you
the
to go
guns.
to the people who are angry. They're also armed. Need you to take that. I'm like, that's the worst job in the world.
I don't like this
Like,
subject.
if you don't like prospecting, you're not going to want to do that job.
I feel like we're gonna have some backlash from all of these
gonna
conversations.
get in the comment section?
We should just move on.
You wanna get in the
honestly,
comments?
I don't want to fight people with guns either.
I don't talk to people with guns. I'm afraid.
Well, they had said, like, I think if you had a group of more than like 11, I don't know what the rule is. Don't quote me. This is probably way off. If it was more than like 10 or 11 people, they said like you couldn't even have a firearm. But then there was like 1,000 gun people. So I'm wondering how many of them were just like, we're going to go here, but we're going to leave our guns at home because anything over this many people and they can take them. And they had already said like they took somebody's gun. So some guy, ironically,
It was like the
went
one
to
guy who went down there without like. I'm like, what are you doing? Like he didn't bring his like license or like his.
Yeah, like
thing.
ironically, the one guy that came down with a gun about not taking guns, they took his gun. So
because he didn't follow the law. It's like, come on, man. What did you think was gonna? I think even the other people were like, dude, seriously,
come on, you're giving us a bad name.
You're making us look ridiculous. That's so funny to me. But so a lot of things have happened. You know what hasn't changed? The real estate market.
Wow.
It's still
No, it
nuclear.
has. We have
Not
less
since our last pod.
inventory
Yeah, that's true.
than we
Yeah.
had on the last podcast. So that's actually what our deep dive is today. So hold on. Let me see if we have to have a whole
Are
studio.
we going right into deep dive now?
How
We're
many
getting deep.
How many minutes has it been, Mike?
7.
That's a long intro.
That's a lot of talky.
I know. The people want real estate
They want the
talk.
meat.
Are we going to talk about
have the
food
meat.
fights? Are we going to talk about
Food fights. We did.
We got a new segment.
well,
We'll talk
outro.
about that.
We're gonna do all that. But here's the thing: when the new segment's gonna come after the deep dive, Mike.
Did you not pay attention to the prep meeting?
No,
God.
I wasn't in the meeting.
You know
I
what the
was-
thing is?
I was told to go somewhere that I had to drive 40 minutes.
You know, we can talk about that.
That was also your fault.
That's also your fault.
So my stomach is raging because of food fight.
Jared's
Because
trying to power through this thing as quick as possible.
yeah, like if we could, let's wrap this up. We had pizza at a non-disclosed location because
That we'll disclose later.
It wasn't the best food fight we've done. He was very excited we were there. He
Super
may
pleasant man.
not be so excited when our food fight drops. So between the pizza we ate, which was so-so,
Mm-hmm.
and then the box of wings we ate while waiting for Mike to show up.
There's only 4 each.
And
Don't give the
and French
viewers
fries.
the thing. We only ate like 6 fries each because we threw a lot of the fries away.
But you ate the whole pizza, like not
I
you
ate tons of
personally,
pizza.
But it was like this pizza's not good. And Galen was like,
I was crushing the pizza. I had not eaten since yesterday at 6 p.m. I was like, whatever you put in front of me is getting eaten. Baby, whatever it is.
I think
eating it all.
Galen's rating for the pizza was higher due to his ridiculous
'Cause I was
levels of
so
hunger.
hungry.
Yeah.
And I feel guilty. I feel bad to a little degree. Like
Why?
if the person's
If they've
like,
been doing
if
it
he's
for how
looking
long?
through the window
He's
at
like,
me
does he
as I
like
eat
it?
the pizza.
Was he smiling at us?
Yeah, I know.
When it came out, I was like, oh boy, here we go.
He was like, because I could clearly see him in the window, like looking like.
Does he
I hope
look
they
like he's
it.
enjoying
and so
it?
I was like, oh yeah,
He's like, I made this one myself.
so good.
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible.
Well,
It's just
and-
we got high standards.
So we got to get in a deep dive because Mike's got like a full studio album that he plays every time as we go into it. So
The
we got to
greatest
like
hits.
drop that in. So Mike,
Drop that beat, DJ.
let's do it. Deep dive.
See, the great thing is you could talk over it too.
Yeah, we need to.
Talk over it.
If you don't, then you have to talk over it. Except for this part, it's just getting louder.
Yeah, are you turning the volume up on us? Are you trying to drown us out? He's like, this is my solo.
Real estate love. I love my real estate. It's a state of love.
I like it, man. That was aggressive. That was the most aggressive transition.
We went for remember when Deep Dive, it used to be like a float with some water, and it was like, now Mike's like death metal.
We started it, and it was like Tibetan bells chiming, and now it's like,
It brings some excitement for 2021.
I love it.
That's right. All right. So the Deep Dive today, we're talking about inventory, because if I have one more person ask me when the market's going to crash, or I feel like we get dumb questions.
Level out.
Oh, it can't last for long. What's the actual state of the market? Oh, was that? We're getting some more? All right. Are we good?
It was the outro.
Mike?
It was the outro to the album.
Okay. I think we're good. All right. So
let's first think about some of the questions that we're getting and the reason why we're getting them. There are a lot of people, when's the market going to crash? I don't know why people are asking that. It's like they're almost asking as if they're hoping it's going to crash, which...
Because they haven't bought a house yet.
Yeah, and they're like, I'm waiting for the time to benefit from the total country misery.
Yeah, so we're going to break down why that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, so here's one of the things I've been saying to people. One, you don't want to crash because there's massive ramifications that would have to happen on an economic... just
platonic.
I was gonna say platonic. I was like Teutonic level. The platonic level of the real estate market.
I don't know whose platonic levels need to change to crash the real estate market, man.
Hey, this guy's married. Leave him alone.
That's right.
But it'd have to be massive changes. Jared's off the market.
It's true.
Unless I had a joke there. I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it.
We don't want wife jokes.
Maybe. No. But you'd have to have a massive shift, and you don't want that because that's going to be, unemployment. There's going to be like huge things, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, when is it going to crash?"
All right,
and stuff like that.
But let's touch on that, right? Because the whole reason people are asking is because they're looking at COVID and they're saying there's so many people that are unemployed,
right?
Or they're saying there's so many mortgages that are in.
So I love this part because like a million episodes ago, you remember this? We had Mark Horton on, and I said, Mark, why don't you talk to us about the F word? And everyone like froze, like, what? It was forbearance. So, Jared, tell the people what forbearance is.
So forbearance is for the people that aren't able to pay their mortgages through COVID, or maybe people who just don't want to because they have the option, and they can call up the bank and say, hey, I can't afford to pay my mortgage right now. And because of COVID and the rules, a lot of banks are saying, okay, we're not going to take your house. We're not going to put you in a foreclosure. We're actually going to let you postpone your payments until a later date. Now, you have to look into that. Because it doesn't mean you don't owe them money. It doesn't mean they're not going to stack on interest at the end, or that you're not going to owe some lump sum at some point when you start paying again.
Yeah.
But
your payments freeze doesn't mean your interest freeze. That's how someone explained it to me.
It could be an issue, but the fear of people is they say there's so many people in forbearance right this second that at some point it's going to come back and it's going to bite people, and we're going to have floods of foreclosures again.
Correct.
That's the fear.
That's the fear.
I understand the fear.
Understand people being fearful.
But let's talk about, is that a real possibility? Again, we don't have crystal balls. We can't read the future. But here's the thought. How many months of inventory are currently on the market in our market?
That would be 0.88.
Yes. So is it 88 or just 8?
I think it's 0.88.
I thought it was 8. 8 sounds better than 80.
But
let's
0.8.
Either way.
Rough numbers.
So here's the thing. Less than a month supply, which means give it 3 weeks. If people stop listing houses, there would be 0 houses left to purchase. So the thing is, people's main fear is that if we foreclose on all these houses, we're going to have all this inventory and values are going to plummet.
Prices fall through the ground.
But here's the issue. We have no inventory right now. We've never seen a shortage of inventory in the real estate market this grandiose. So even if... And I don't know how many are in forbearance. We probably should have looked up the actual numbers, but if you
I can check,
you should look.
I got the World Wide Web.
Do some googling. I like when we do some live googling on the podcast.
Right, keep talking. I'll get my Google
I want to
on.
say. I mean, our unemployment rate is like well under 10%. I want to say it's like around
6, I believe.
Is it 6? Yeah. So pre-COVID, I think we were at like 3.7 or 4. So you think we're 2% above that? Now, is that a large number of people? Sure. Do we feel bad for people that are unemployed right now? 100%. But is it enough where all of these people are going to not be paying their bills and foreclose on their house? Most of these people that are unemployed were not home buyers because of where they were in the industry to be unemployed. I'm not saying some people are not homeowners or purchasers and also out of work, but the percentage is small. Now, here's the issue. Let's say out of these couple million people, they can't pay, and the bank says we want to foreclose. How's people's equity looking in their houses right now, Galen?
Sorry, I was getting my Google on,
You keep
but I can
Googling.
answer that question
I'm just going to
as
keep
well.
talking then. if
So
that's the case.
currently, 2.8 million homeowners in the U.S. are in forbearance.
Okay.
Right. So that's good. I was looking for Virginia. That's why I was hesitating. But as far as your question regarding equity, so the great thing that exists right now is like even the people who are in forbearance, they have so much equity in their house at this very moment
Yep.
that if they couldn't, if you got into a position where the bank's like, give us the house or else, you could literally go into your daughter's bedroom, grab a loose leaf piece of paper,
Yep.
write the word for sale on it.
I don't know what happens if you don't have a daughter, but
You get a son.
I don't have either.
They work on that.
Right.
Get a piece of paper, write for sale on it, put it in your front yard. You could probably sell your house within probably 2 or 3 weeks.
But you should hire a realtor.
if you want to make the most money out of it, it's probably a good.
Come
idea.
on, Galen. Or this is a real estate podcast. All right, anyways,
Make some money out of it.
I'm just kidding. But Galen's right. Galen, give me another stat. Google on your magic device over there.
Call it a computer. Got it.
What's the average amount of equity a U.S. homeowner has in their home right now? I think it's over $100,000.
All right. What do you think, Mike?
60.
Price is Right rules. Galen, where you at?
Here we go.
You don't want to guess before you find it?
I got like 80 advertisements.
This shouldn't be a hard stat to find. We should be
You
able to
would
find
think
this.
so.
It's cool. Mike can just do like one of the
Yeah,
one of those, and then bring us back.
Or
No, can we not? All right,
Couple things. Mike had that too quick.
we're gonna have to change. Can we get rid of that? We're gonna have to like really go over the sound choices before these next podcasts.
Who was that singing anyway?
I think Mike's just in the back of his studio, just going nuts after hours. He's got like Owen filming him. He's like, Owen, push the play button, push record.
So
buddy.
your number was what?
I was at 100,000.
I said 60.
See, I just saw a number that said
Way low?
85.
Oh, we'll split the
Okay,
difference.
so I'm good with that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm still win. I'm
I'm
closer.
thinking about my
but-
neighborhood. I'm thinking about
If
my
I split the
neighborhood.
difference, I mean, it's close, but I still win that
I'm
bet.
thinking about my neighborhood, and I know where everyone's pretty much
I
at.
just said
and
the
so-
average American.
Okay, well,
So, but this is average. This is above average. It doesn't matter. 100,000. All right.
Yeah, okay.
So here we go. Markets crash.
He just declared himself the winner. He's like, yeah, so the number I said
So I
before.
win, yeah. Anyways, but look, so here's the thing, right? If you are gonna have your house taken away from you and you have $100,000 in equity, at what point do you just tell the bank, sorry, go ahead, take it? You would not do that, and the bank doesn't foreclose on your house within a day. So you would call a realtor like me or Galen, and they'd come drop a sign in your yard, or you'd go to your son's room and find some paper, and then you put that sign
Paint
out.
the picture.
And then, and then you would sell your house. And let's say the market did dip. And here's the thing. The only recession in the last like 4 or 5 recessions where real estate values dropped was 2008. And that was caused by housing. This whole thing that's going on is not caused by housing. Mike wants to say something.
no, I'm just asking if you were in this situation, could you refinance, and would that help?
Well, if you're not paying, then obviously you can't refinance. And if you have missed payments, they're also not going to refinance you. So
Yeah, it's kind of like you're telling the bank, you're like, hey, I'm not paying. Can you give me another loan? They're like, well, you're not paying the other one.
now
so.
you could hypothetically, I want to say, come out of forbearance, and they won't count that as a missed payment. But if you're in forbearance, no refi. And if you missed a payment before or
Well,
after,
forbearance they'll put at the end of your loan.
yes, they're all different. I mean, depending on what it is.
It's
But
your
yeah,
bank.
that should be the thing. But here's the thing. Even if the market softened a little, right? In '08, most people didn't lose $100,000 in value on their houses. Obviously, it was a scale depending on what you own. But in our market, at least, most people weren't 6 figures under. So even if you shaved 20, 30 grand off in a softened market, you're still going to sell and put $70,000 on average back in your pocket. So that begs the issue. You're not going to have this raging level of foreclosures. And even if you had an heightened level of people going to sell, we're at less than a month's worth of inventory. The inventory could almost quadruple before we even leave a seller's market, before we get to the point where now it's a buyer's market.
Yeah, we're very far away from a buyer's market. That does not. I hate to, because a lot of people say, well, I'll just wait, or
So winter of 19, what was it like inventory? I'm trying to remember.
Inventory's been low for the last 2 to 3 years, but we've probably been at about 3 months inventory
Yeah.
ish. I'd say for like the last
Winter of
24
19.
months,
I mean,
maybe
November, December, mid-January, it's always like
of the year before.
Yeah.
You're probably at a 3 month like
Pre-COVID era.
I think we were at the most 3 months, and that was like, oh, cool, seller's market. I don't think it was getting too much lower than that. We all of a sudden dropped to like 2 months. We went through COVID. Now again, less than a month. So they can't build the houses fast enough.
Also, last year in the wintertime, we didn't have a snow season either. So that usually throws the season, too. So there wasn't a real snow season.
I mean, we never slowed down other than through the first lockdown. And then
that was the only time where
That was
but then like
scary.
everyone was frozen.
But that was only for like 3 weeks or something.
it was about 60 days.
Yeah.
It was. I mean,
Okay,
I'm not saying the
speaking of my
official
workflow.
lockdown was 60, but I'm thinking like we locked down for about 30-ish, 40-ish.
March and April were kind of grayish. You were just kind of like,
Yeah, well, because essentially what
What's
happened
gonna
is,
happen right
is there
now?
are people still trying to figure it out. The counties are trying to figure out
Yeah.
how do we record stuff, how do we move to digital recording. The permit companies or not permit, the cities and counties were trying to say, oh, we're not going to do your permit inspections, or we're not even going to review. I had a neighborhood development that was in that they wouldn't even look at because they were like, we're not doing lot splits right this
Right.
second. So it was scary, but once they figured it out, it went back.
I remember it didn't even go back. It just went full throttle. I feel like in May we got shot out of a cannon.
Yeah. And why do you think that is?
Well, I know why it is. I think people sat inside their homes for 60 to, depending on you're talking 60 to 70 days.
They're like, my house sucks. when I sit in it.
Especially a lot of the people were like in apartments, and there because I can think of 3 clients right now that were like, I'm in an apartment and I've got to get out of here. Like I can't go to the bars. I can't do any of the things that I love to do because I'm downtown.
Yeah.
All of that stuff's been taken away. So now I have no reason to kind of live here. I've had friends that moved to Richmond from like Arlington because they're just like, there's no reason for us to be here anymore. So,
I mean, you best believe I've looked at multiple houses with saunas in them and pools at this point. Just because of the gym, you can't get in the hot tub, you can't get in the sauna, you
Well,
can't get
too
in
hot.
think
Not
about
though.
like New York and LA where everybody's just leaving, and I mean, like there's tons of just,
Yeah, you do have a lot of
know.
people leaving cities. You've got people moving out to the country, more rural. They want land. We went over this last podcast. We don't rehash all the COVID stuff, but I mean, you got people that say, I want a vacation house now. I want a house with a pool now. I need more room for my kids to do schooling at
I
home.
want to spend more time with Galen, so I want him to like list my house and help me buy a house.
That's cool. I like that.
I've heard that a lot.
That's a good reason, actually. That's why I would sell if I was going to sell. Yeah, so at the end of the day, what we're seeing is that I don't see an end in sight to the low inventory. I don't see a turn in value. So for the people that are just hoping that there's going to be some kind of crash. Now, don't get me wrong. I hope it softens. I would love to see it turn more biased to buyers. Even if we had like 4 months inventory, 3 again, it'd be great to not have to be one of 20 offers on every single house
Yeah.
that's out there, because then I feel like we could find our buyers that we have so many buyers that are just in line to buy something and they can't. I mean, everything I've written this week's been 20,000 or more over, and I've lost everything I've written this week. So I think people are just writing blind offers and just saying, hey, whatever it appraises for, it appraises for. We'll just-
They're like, if I could get away with putting a blank on this offer, I would, but they can't. So
actually, and I'm gonna pivot a little in this deep dive, but it's
Ooh,
on
I
the
like a
same.
pivot.
But it's kind of on the same thing. So
Jared's not a big fan of pivoting, so him pivoting, this is noteworthy. I hope Mike has like a music thing he does for this.
So I
Put it in
I saw an
post-editing.
agent post something the other day, and she said, with the values doing what they're doing and people offering so much more over ask, do you as a realtor feel like you're doing your clients a disservice by making them bid up on these houses to get them when the market is inevitably going to crash? That's why it comes, because she put that stupid line in there.
Inevitably, yeah.
Yeah, because it's coming. That's what she said. And then she deleted the post after because everybody was like, burn the witch, and so she pulled it down. But the question remains.
So she didn't do the post and ghost type of deal.
Oh no, she was like, I got to get rid of this and like deactivate Facebook. So, but like the whole thought
I didn't think
there
anyone was paying attention.
is that a logical line of reasoning? At any point have you thought, I'm making my clients overpay for a house? Because that's never crossed my mind one time.
It has not crossed my mind because let's consider the alternatives, right?
Yeah, they're homeless.
That's what I was thinking. Like, so if you and I are bidding against each other, and I'm thinking, man, this is awful. I don't want my client. Well, then guess what? So next month we're having the same conversation while your clients are like closing, they're moving their friends, and I'm like, so we still don't have a house.
Yeah.
But I feel good about this general vibe that I'm
exactly.
So,
you know what you haven't done? Overpaid for a house yet. And he's like, yeah, I know. I'm not in a house right now.
Yeah, I'm not in a house. You've not done the one job that you were hired to do, and that's to find me a house.
Right? Negotiate.
And so to me, it's like it's my clients. I always have a very frank decision with them or a conversation with them. So you got to decision make. Do you want to? Is this the house? Do you want this house? Do you want to continue looking for houses? And a lot of times we're like, no, I don't want to continue looking for houses. I'm like, all right. So now let's look at. We know offers are going this way. Where do you want to be? Do you want to be like, okay, I'm okay if we don't get it? Or, Galen, I'm done. I'm tired of doing this. I don't want to drive anymore. I don't want my wife to send me another email about here's a list of houses.
And I don't want to show you any more houses.
And I'm like, I usually like showing my wife. Richmond's friendliest realtor.
Yeah, call Galen.
But,
call Galen after your fifth offer.
Yeah,
you can
I
go
was
to
like,
him.
we got to decide. And so I think all of them, especially this past 6 months, they've all said, you're right. Let's do it. We're going to put in this offer. I want this offer to be competitive. And that's what it is. It's all about being competitive. And that's just a nature of competition with anything.
And here's the issue with the whole attitude, because the mentality is if I don't bid this up, or I bid it up too much and they get it, then now what happens when they want to sell? Are they going to lose money and be mad at me? Guess what? The market goes up.
Yeah.
Indefinitely.
Values rise.
And if we soften, do you think some guy in 1960 that bought his house for $35,000 instead of $30,000 is looking back now and saying, man, I'm really mad I paid $5,000 more back then?
They got me.
You got to look at the big picture. If you pay $530 instead of $500, and in 20 years that house is worth $800, you've already paid it down. You've already got equity. You've already got inflation. You've enjoyed it.
You've paid in years.
So it was an insane line of reasoning. It
doesn't make sense. And it goes against all my thoughts of competition. Michael Jordan was never like, oh, goodness, I hope I don't score too many points.
Yeah.
I don't want them to think I'm not being a good guy. He's like, no, I'm going to be the best. And there's going to be no...
My favorite part of any of those documentaries, and he was like, and I took offense. And I was like, oh, that's when you knew Mike was about to go
Oh, yeah,
wild.
exactly.
Like, if you did anything to offend MJ was like, I'm going to ruin your
He's
life.
like, what'd you just say?
He's like, I invited your kids to watch.
On your anniversary.
Yeah, every time.
And I dunked on you so hard. Yeah, I love those like documentaries. Michael Jordan is just like so raw. I can't wait until we get to the era. This is we've kind of fallen off.
This is a pivot. My pivot was on point.
But we've
really
pivoted a lot. We've pivoted a lot. I just was thinking, I can't wait till the time when we get to like LeBron has retired and he can now like say what he really like thinks
when he's not the good guy anymore.
Yeah, exactly. When he can like finally like sit back and be like, I was so much better than all of you. And he's like, oh, you meant that time where like every city I went to on a team, I brought him a champion and people still complained? And he's like, yeah, I was so much better than all of you. But right now he has to be like, yeah, I'm just trying. It's a team game. But like, it's not a team game. like right now it's a team game. But when he was in like Cleveland, I know you don't follow basketball.
I don't, but I appreciate greatness.
In Cleveland, it was not a team game. It was like, you're fired if you don't pass him the ball. Because he's like, this is our one hope. This is the guy. He was
did it.
And they were smart. Yeah. They did it. I would have totally been on. I'd be like, yeah, pass him the ball, man. What are you doing?
You can keep me on the bench.
Oh, yeah. I was like, you need some water?
That's right.
No problem.
Right. Just send me my check.
No, but you know, you said something this afternoon that will always stick with me. You said, you and I have the same mission statement.
Yeah.
But that's what you have to do with any team. Yeah. Real estate, anything. Like, you have to have the same mission statement with others. So that's how I feel. I'm like, hey, Jared's doing it. Yeah. Go do that thing. I'm rooting for all the guys. We got 15 agents or 50. I don't know. No, we got 12 agents on our team, but I'm rooting for all of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, you want to ask me a question? Yeah, I want you to be so successful that it stinks. So I can be like, oh yeah, my boy Keith killing it. My boy Ben destroying them. So
I love when Galen gets mad at stuff that doesn't affect his income or like
it affects my brand, my team brand.
That's it. That's why I love you so much, because you'll get so mad at somebody on the Davis group not doing something they should do, and I'm like, you didn't even pay for this, and I love it because it is. That's why I said you have the same mission statement. We are about the same thing. I'm listening to a book about that now. Traction. If you haven't listened to Traction and you're building a business, you're missing out. All right. On the subject that we were on, you've got some actual notes. Did we miss anything?
No. Well, I wrote down. Like, I try to mentally write down things that people say, and like one of them was like, "Well, I'll just wait." And so I think we addressed that.
Yeah, don't wait.
don't wait. Someone not recently, but they said, well, maybe I'll just go new construction. And I haven't really circled back with them, but with a different client, I've been going to new construction things. And it's like I had to call like 4 different builders about certain lots. And the fact is, if you're waiting for new construction, it's like even they're sold out. Like even like I've called 2 out of the 4. They're like, we don't have any more lots. And then like the last one, they're just like, I only got like these 6 lots. And you can't do these colors because, I mean, it was like bare bones. It's like you could basically only do like this elevation trim and this color.
And lumber's gone up. Yeah, appliances have gone up. So stuff with COVID's gotten more expensive. So you're going to pay more too. So at the end of the day, if you're saying, I'm going to wait for values to go down, they're probably not. If you're like, I'm going to wait for rates, I mean, rates are probably going to go up if anything. We're like in the 2s. If we go much lower,
it's 275. I thought
we just locked someone in at 2.6 the other day, and I just quoted a 15-year for me at 2.1, which is insane. So if rates go up, values are continuing to go up. But sometimes if rates go up, values will come down. Right? That's just kind of how it works. One of the issues that we do pose that we haven't talked about today, and it could be a long-term issue possibly to some, is outpricing people in the market, right? At some point, the houses could get so expensive that your first-time home buyers are almost priced out.
Yeah, they're like, I can't buy a house.
And that is a possible problem.
For sure,
We've seen that in bigger cities, right? And we've seen some of those markets maybe soften a little as people are leaving. But Richmond so far is still a pretty cheap market. So, again, what will happen, and it's not good for the homeowner, but people that are investors will come in, they'll pick those houses up, they'll rent them out because they'll become good rentals for people. So yeah, don't wait. Everybody used to say that. If you said, I wish I had waited to buy Tesla stock this year, you'd have lost 800% in gain.
I wish I would have. I should have waited. Yeah.
People with EXP, I've had so many agents tell me, oh, well, it's just too late. I missed the boat. And that was 400% gains ago. And when I came over, we're up 800%, right? 900% this year on EXP stock. So,
and now we're going to split.
And
EXP
it's
stock's
splitting.
about to split.
Yeah, so don't think you missed.
I was happy to see that email.
Oh my gosh, me too. My bank account was very happy to see that email. So yeah, if you're an agent, again, we'll throw this out there. We're trying to grow the team. We want about 8 more agents. Or if you're a team and you just want advice on how to grow a team and help grow, and you want our models and you want our softwares, we will give it all to you. At EXP, we are trying to build brands and we are trying to build relationships to help each other. And I promise you, if you sit down with us and talk about it, you will see that no other broker is going to give you the value that we're going to give you. It's incredible. Galen, anything else on this front, on the deep dive?
So I think that was it for the deep dive. I love we were getting so much feedback and energy from people asking legitimate questions. A lot of these questions that we have, the I will wait, or new construction, or what do I do? I had one person, should I expect to pay closing costs? All of these things, great questions. If you're selling your house, should you expect to pay closing costs for the buyer? Probably not right now. If you're the buyer, just make sure you've talked to your lender and know how much that's going to cost you, because you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, even things like home warranties. We should always just throw a home warranty on a contract to make sure we protect our purchaser. And now it's kind of like, will you pay for your home warranty if you want it? Because that $500 could make or break your offer depending on what it is. I mean, contingencies, appraisals, we're having to waive appraisals sometimes. We're having to waive home inspections sometime. It's a lot of things that first-time home buyers don't really want to do.
Especially if especially if they're getting advice from their parents.
Oh yeah, you gotta get the inspection.
Yeah, and it's like I appreciate.
Don't overpay.
Yeah, I appreciate a parent who's hovering over there trying to help.
Wait for a deal.
Sometimes they're hurting. They are hurting you sometimes. Wait for a deal. I'm like, all right, see you in 2044.
That's right. No one pays the ask price. Why does he want more than what it's listed for?
That is a funny thing. I talked to somebody. They're like, if they wanted more, they should have just listed it for more. And I'm just like, that's not how supply and demand works. It's but like thank you.
Hashtag and what we hear as realtors every day.
Yep.
Like things we hear. Strangle-worthy things.
Strangle-worthies. These are our strangle-worthies.
Yeah.
I like that. We'll put that in a segment.
So is that everything for the deep dive?
That's all for the deep dive, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's move on into our soft landing.
I think the last thing we had...
Should we do music to soft landing?
I don't know, because we're not going to do this every time, but we thought it'd be cool because we keep coming across all these crazy bad listings or just insane things that we see here and there. And if you're watching on video, we could probably take some pictures and put them up. If you're listening in the car, maybe not so much. But
mental picture. Yeah.
So in this segment of what were you
they thinking? I love it.
Yeah. I came across a house this week in Vegas, and it looks from the drone
Jared
photos.
was in Vegas.
Yep, I'm just chartering flights. I thought there was a riot going on. Disappointed. So, anyways,
He went to the true capital of the United States, Las Vegas.
that's right. So you can see Vegas in the background of this house. It's maybe like a mile or so out, I feel like. And this house is listed for $18 million.
We're going halvesies.
From the outside, it looks like a pretty standard home that you would see in Las Vegas. Looks like it's like straight out of like Breaking Bad, that kind of arid desert locale.
Never
But
seen the show.
The seller figured at some point someone may riot hard enough and cause a whole nuclear worldwide meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
So he built a bunker in his basement to look like the outside world. So if you're watching this, I hope we can put some pictures up. If you're not watching this and you're not driving, Google Las Vegas bunker house for sale.
Amazing.
And look at this
So
thing.
awesome.
The guy has trees that go up to the ceiling. Not real trees, but fake trees to the ceiling in his yard that's covered in AstroTurf. His grill was built into a giant fake boulder.
Fake
and
boulder.
there's literally...
Was there a pool? I can't remember.
Yes, there's a pool
underground.
that backs up to the wall, which is painted like sky and fields.
So awesome.
And then the other wall is actually a house in a house. So it's a house with a roof underground in the house.
Yeah.
So it's a roof under a roof.
My thought is this.
with like a bar.
That's a photographer's nightmare.
Like, how to get the lighting. You're like,
a
where am I?
dream.
My thought is like, do you live under in the bunker most of the time? I feel like I would do that. I mean, you just got the bar, you got the grill, the
I want to know
pool.
what the upstairs looks like. I don't know what the upstairs looks like. I only saw the downstairs.
He spends like no time upstairs.
I mean, you don't need to. Who needs people nowadays?
So
COVID.
what does that do for value of the home? Is that living area?
Well, if
Like,
you
how
ask-
do you-
Square feet,
If
50 square
if
feet.
you ask an appraiser, it's worthless because it's a basement. And then
Appraisers say everything is
They also
worthless.
say pools are worthless. So an underground pool has got to be a lack of value.
Negative,
Probably.
negative.
Can you imagine digging that out? You have to dig a basement out, and then you have to dig a pool in the basement,
I mean, you gotta
and then you have to
start-
build a
yeah,
house
it's like-
in a house. You got to Google this. If you are not watching and seeing our pictures, please Google this.
The best thing I think about when I like it is like, you probably like talk to multiple contractors, and
And
there's
they're
always
like,
like
"What?"
one contractor's like, oh, can't do it. Can't. But there was that one guy who
He
was just like,
yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah.
He's like, you want to put a pool down there too? I can do that.
He's
He was like, hold my
$10
beer.
$10 million.
He's like,
Yeah,
he's like, hold my beer. Yeah, he's like, hold my beer.
$18
I
million
can do
bucks.
this.
I will build a
Hats
house
off
in your
to
house.
that builder who was just like, oh, we can do this.
I
We're
mean,
gonna do that.
There's like pictures of deer, and then when you like look at the inside rooms in the house that are on like the back end of the wall, they have windows, but the windows are the basement wall, so they make sure to paint sky scenes on.
Yeah.
So that you can look outside while you're inside.
That's like
your
Mike
house,
and his like fake
inside your
staging
house.
outside of like the virtual staging that Mike does.
This
is
is
like
when
a
you
whole new
cue
level.
like an exhibit, Pimp Your Ride, where they're like, "We're gonna put a car in your car."
Yeah,
That's
There's gonna be a track inside the car.
we need one of those right now for this house. Do you remember those memes? Where
It's a car.
Dude, that was like that exhibit meme was like so on fire for a few years.
I love the
after
other.
Pimp My Ride.
Why did you bring it? We don't want to go to pivots, but then you bring up Pimp My Ride, which makes me laugh because there's like the one episode they put like a coffee machine, like coffee maker. I was like, you're
That's the
totally
best.
burning yourself
That's the
while
best.
you're like
driving.
making it. I'm like, we all know what's going to happen. Like even the guys in the background, like,
Your milk steamer's like a full espresso machine.
I'm like, definitely going to scold yourself.
Oh man,
I love it. But that's awesome. I love real
What
estate
were they
stuff like
doing?
that.
I like, and we're not gonna do this every time, but I have like a couple in my head. I wish I could just like name out a bunch, but we're not. We're gonna wait because the next one is also
Oh,
one that.
man, I have to write that down so you don't forget about
Next
that one.
one, hint if I forget and you're like, hey, we liked this segment, just like send me a message that says Murder House, and it'll remind me of the
Actually,
next one.
why don't we ask the viewers to send in crazy stuff they're seeing?
That'd be good too. If you've got something crazy, not necessarily ugly, because there's plenty
just
of
a
ugly
crazy
houses
photo.
out there. But if you see something crazy going on, yeah, send it to us. That'd be awesome.
That'd be a good post for you. What's the craziest thing you've seen in real
Oh
estate in
man,
a
I've
house?
got so many.
I mean, I think that you get a lot of people like, let's get some pics in here.
I saw a sink one time that was smaller than my hand, and it may not seem like much, but it
You
really
got tiny
trips you
hands.
out when you. Yeah, I know. So
No,
when
you
you see a sink that's like this big, you're like, how is this possible?
The strangest one I saw was like the one the bathroom was so like tiny They're like, you can't sit in there without hitting your like knees.
You're at the sink. The
Yeah,
sink's
you're like there, and like the door closes like this.
You're
And I
right
was
on the
just like,
sink.
I remember like I showed my client, then like her dad comes, her dad's like 6'4", and he like opens her, he's like, this is ridiculous. And then we all just started laughing. I was like, so that's a no, right? And we like left, but I was like, that's like that house stayed on the market for a pretty long time. Like after my client had found a new house, she sent me a text message. She was like, someone bought the tiny bathroom house, and I was like, I looked, I'm like, they sure did. And I was like, that's how you know the market is like. Even someone's like, you know what?
I'm small.
I'm a short
I'm
person.
not that big. I'll make it work.
I can work. I'll just sit Indian style on this thing.
Alrighty. Well, I think that wraps us up, honestly, Galen, don't you?
I do. It's been a pleasure.
So our next food fight should be either chicken wings or burgers.
Chicken wings or burgers.
So
I'm leaning towards burgers.
I'm leaning towards burgers too.
me too. I don't think there's as many wing places, but prove us wrong, Richmond. Send us your.
I feel like anytime we make a statement like, there's not that many wings, like, what are you
People are
talking
like, this is
about?
the wing
There's
capital.
wing stuff. There's wing clan. There's wing house. There's wing barn. It's like,
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
exactly.
Please stop emailing me.
Yeah, no, but honestly, keep emailing us. Galen at centralvarealty.com, Jared at centralvarealty.com. You can find me at __ the Davis Group, or if you're on Clubhouse now, Jared Davis. That's the new thing right now. I don't know if anybody else is on
I don't think
Clubhouse.
it's taken off that much yet.
You haven't
I've heard a lot of people talking
You haven't
about
got an invite yet,
I
have
got
you?
an invite for you. I got an invite for you.
Mike's not allowed to be on it yet. He's trying to get in. He's like, it doesn't look that cool from out here.
Wow. Personal attacks. If you're looking for me, Galen Parker, just go ahead and Google me.
I'm Googleable. Yeah,
That's my new thing now. Just Google me, baby.
yeah, that's it.
How's your sign doing, by the way?
My massive, like, I showed it to Jared the other day. It's like life size. It's bigger
It's
than life.
bigger than life.
It's
Galen
larger
has
than
a
life.
larger than life size open house.
Is it the kind
placard.
where you like feel like the eyes are looking at you every way you move from on the picture?
No, it's the way that you feel like I don't know how I'm going to get around it in whatever room it's sitting in.
Exactly.
Because it's so large. He's going to have to move furniture to like get
I'm
it
gonna
in
like
there.
move some of the furniture out into the front yard. To
It's
put
like
it
a
in there.
7x8.
The greatest compliment I ever got was not the greatest compliment I ever got. That's an overstatement. But the other day, Keith was talking to me. He's like, I didn't know this guy Galen, but I saw this picture, and that's when I was like, this looks like a friendly guy. I'm like, that
is
what
Galen.
I want strangers to see. So when they see that picture, they're gonna be like, this seems like a giant friendly guy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
You
Oh,
rootin'
hey,
tootin'.
let us know when you see a picture of Galen. What do you think? When you see a picture of me, what do you think? I'm not gonna have
Oh,
this kind.
jeez.
Team Puppy versus Team Kitten. Here we go.
Well, hey, I'm happy with that enough. That's good with me. All right. Again, this has been RVA Real Estate Talk. I am Jared Davis,
And I'm Galen Parker.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
If you have a real estate question that you would like to ask Jared or Galen, reach out to them at Jared at centralvarealty.com or Galen at centralvarealty.com. Who knows? It may even be featured on an upcoming episode.